Welcome to Vampire Radio! Hola, hola, hola. You're listening to a Vampire Radio, and this is an edition that is Martinez Girlz Radio. That's right. So you have Martinez Girlz Radio, you got Talking Shit with ACR, and you got Vampire Radio Live. That's what we're doing over here. Of course, I am your hostess with the mostest, Shelly from Cali, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Danny, California.
Hello, hello.
So here's what happened today. So Danielle and I were talking, and I had mentioned to her that because she had told me she had this Cafe Danielle ready to go. And I told her, I said, look, we'll do a little opener. We'll do Cafe Danielle, and then we will share with our listeners episode 1 of Martinez Girlz Radio from back in the day. That's where my trouble started. So I was going through all my different files, all my different hard drives. I even sought out going to old podcast feeds, even going as far back as Blog Talk Radio. And here's the problem. I can't find Martinez Girlz Radio anywhere except on iTunes, and there's only like 5 episodes on there. And what I think had happened is, as most of the listeners know, I used to use licensed music for our intros. I used to use Suffrage City by David Bowie. So things like that, and then playing music when it was behind a paywall, I think that's why there's only 5 episodes on iTunes, because they probably block those. And then when I went on to the Funtime Radio feed on Blog Talk Radio, it wasn't allowing me to play the episodes. So I have this computer. I cannot for the life of me find the power cord for it. And I'm almost certain that that's where the episodes are. I have all the Wake and Bakes. I have all the Talking Shits. I have all the Vampire Radio Lives. I'm missing Martinez Girlz Radio and now Funtime Radio. So if I don't find the cord tomorrow, I do have a little device that allows me to kind of be the mediator in between my computer. Oh, but there's no power cord. That's the thing. I need the power cord. Oh, so I think what I can do is I could take out the hard drive of the computer, put it in this device I have, and then that's how I can get it. That's what I might have to do.
Well, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you saw my Instagram story, and I was talking a little bit about tonight's episode. And I was mentioning how Shelly was going back to the super archives of 2010, 2011. Holy freaking moly, Shelly. That means we've been doing this 14 years. That is crazy.
And that's why when I tell people that the body of work that I have with podcasting, I am not satisfied, because I have worked so hard. You've worked hard too, but I mean, I edit it all and everything, so no offense. I have worked so hard for all those years, putting together the shows, everything. And I really wish that more people. Here's the thing. At this point, I'm not even trying to be like, oh, why can't I make all this money from podcasting? It's more like, can I just make a few extra bucks? And I care more about the listeners. I care more about people listening to these stories, because I feel like they're kind of void in a way if people aren't listening. And I kind of feel in a way that I already got paid for those episodes, because they were specifically on, as you know, the Secret Society for a long time, where I had it Monday through Friday. Sometimes you'd be getting ready for work and we'd be recording early in the morning. So, and then I would edit the episode and get it up that same day. So I feel monetarily, kind of got paid for it because it was in the secret society. So that's why I'm not like, why aren't I making money? It's like, I just feel the shows are good. They deserve effing listeners. And I get so annoyed by these fly-by-night podcasters. And there's a joke in the like podcast community. And for people who are very passionate about it and been doing it for a long time, or maybe not so long, but they're just very passionate about it, and you can tell. So there's a joke that someone will start a podcast, it'll be all awesome, and then 3 to 6 months later, they have to take a little break, and then they just never really come back, maybe sometimes years later. Now, granted, we've done that, but the break thing happened after many episodes. Like, many episodes. The only thing that I could think of is I kind of fell behind with the Wake and Bakes after a while because it was like every day. But other than that, it's like I didn't take a break until I was like, I have to make money elsewhere, so I got to focus on other things.
Well, it's interesting because I thought the same thing, how we've been doing this for a while, and I feel we create content of things that we would want to listen to. Like, I am very much looking forward to re-listening to a lot of these episodes because I enjoy it. And the stories that we share, the people we interview, the segments that we do, the Cafe Danielle's, everything. Martinez Girlz Radio. Remember the whole thing about Martinez Girlz Radio, what we're trying to do at a certain time was Martinez Girlz Radio was designated for going on the scene, being on site. So we'd be at a concert, be at a restaurant, maybe somewhere out and about. And remember the early Funtime Radio days where we were in the same house and you're in one side of the house, I was in the other. We'd take a shot at absinthe and then we would hear the countdown. And that's where we started from. And we enjoyed it. We had so much fun. And there's been so many different moments. And I feel like we've grown. But at the same time, there's still parts of me that I want to recapture. And I feel like I will find that revisiting some of these old episodes.
No, you absolutely will, because maybe I've taken breaks and stuff in here and there, but I've kept rolling, whereas you haven't been consistently involved. So me revisiting stuff, even just Vampire Radio Lives, that was just not that long ago. It's such a crazy thing because maybe on the episode itself, I'll have a crazy like moment of like, whoa, or oh my gosh, like just that like missing piece of the puzzle. So then I think it's a great episode. But now that I'm re-editing them because I'm taking that music out, I kind of forgot about some of the stuff I talked about, or I kind of remember, but I don't remember how far into detail. And so then I have that moment in a completely different way. So it's like this really cool thing. And that's why I don't stress about it like I used to or whatever. And the main reason why I would stress in the past was because I wanted it to be perfect. And so when things weren't going perfect, it would stress me out. And now I realize nothing's ever going to be perfect. You just roll with the punches. And I feel that our journey in podcasting all these years has been part of that proof to that cliche, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, had it not been for podcasting, I don't think that would it be where I'm at. And so now that I've been revisiting it and going full force this time, instead of just kind of like here and there, I've changed. And I look forward to you feeling the change.
The change. Well, I think it's really interesting because I've been reevaluating a lot of my goals and my patterns. And my birthday is in January. It's a big B-day for me. And this is time for my birthday slim down.
It is.
And also I reevaluate my life along with the birthday slim down. And I made a whole goal list. And again, if you follow me on Instagram story, you'll see my goal list. And my goal list is called Project Bring Me Back to Life. And it's all about creating healthy habits in a realistic way, financially budgeting, self-care, drinking more tea, skincare, calling my friends on the phone, contacting people more, and trying to live in gratitude rather than fear and anxiety, and challenging my anxiety when it's hard, and all these different kind of things like that. And I feel that we have ventured into that in our podcasting, and podcasting has really brought me a lot of balance and healing in my life. And I realized that a lot of what I want to do creatively, I get sidetracked because I have an hourly job that always pulls me back right when I'm starting to gain momentum, because you have to make a living. And I do enjoy the jobs that I've had, but I am married to my job when I'm working. And as a result, my creativity just is not consistent. And that's why as a YouTuber or a blogger or whatever, I've had my strong moments, but I fall off course because at the end of the day, I'm going to put most of my time and energy into what is my sole income. So now I'm trying to figure out a way to have more balance with that so I can do that, because otherwise I'm going to find myself in 10 years from now doing the same thing where I'll have moments of being creative, but then I'm working at a dead end job. And that's just not what I want for myself. And I think podcasting is something, again, that is just a part of who we are. And when I was reevaluating everything, I said, I need to be a performer, not to be a performer in the sense that I want all the attention on me. I want to be famous, anything like that. It's just something that I actually have to do in order for my mental sanity. I need to sing. I need to act. I need to podcast. I need to perform. And doing podcasts, it also really ignites a part of you that is a hostess and a broadcaster and an interviewer. And it's a
storyteller.
And a storyteller, absolutely. And you're a journalist. And it ignites so many different parts of your brain and your creativity. And I think that is something important for both of us, because a lot of people that are entertainers are only good in front of the camera in a limited ways. Whereas I feel that we have lots of talent in front of and behind the camera and production and the whole shebang. And it actually feeds us to be a part of that. And it's not like, oh, I really wish I could be in front of the camera and I'm slumming it being behind it. That's not how it is at all.
And that's not everybody's journey. So for me, I feel that, like, I was just having a conversation with AJ Kirsch, from Head Slam. Uh-oh, gotta get
it.
I just interviewed him last night for upcoming Vampire Radio, spoiler alert. And we were talking about different things, of course, wrestling. And one of the things that we got into is I was telling him how when I was in WWE, I was so nervous at catering at first because I'm on the road finally. I'm living my dream job. So even though that sounds all fantastic, that's like, it takes a lot out of you. It's kind of overwhelming. And then on top of it, at that point, I wasn't a medicator yet or a drinker. So I had no quote unquote release, if you will. And so it's just very raw is what my point is. And what I would do to ease my way into work and feel comfortable was in catering, I would talk to the people that were the catering people or the people in production or the writers, people like that. Because prior to wrestling, if you guys don't know, I was already involved in modeling and acting, and I already had the bug of like wanting to be behind the scenes. So when I would be on sets and stuff, I was always so fascinated by like the camera work and the lighting and the editing people. Like if you something where you see them there or whatever. And I've had friends that were like different, like went to film school. And so then, as they grew in film school, I was learning through them. And so it's just always something that's been both of us attracted to. And I felt really comfortable with the production people, the writers, people like that, the catering people. And so that's who I'd kind of buddy up with. And it's really funny though, because the flip side was I didn't find out until like maybe 5 or 6 years ago that people thought I was going up to the writers and politicking to get more TV time during catering. But really we're talking about Disneyland, the Munsters, like nothing to do with work. But that's how hardcore it went, to where like here I was living my dream job, but I felt only comfortable around production.
Well, it's interesting, and we could totally go down a rabbit hole, but there's Cafe Danielle's to have.
There is this.
But, I've worked on set where I am background on a major TV show, let's say. And the lead actors and actresses, I've seen their behaviors and see how they are. And I see how I get treated as background. And there's a woman who comes to my work because I work at a veterinary hospital, and she does catering for different events and stuff. And she says, I always tell the staff, the background actors are people, like treat them like people. And when you are doing background, you're not treated as a person. If you're a featured background, maybe a little more. But when you're just background, you're just seen as this thing.
You're a prop.
Yeah, you're absolutely a prop. And so when you're on set, there's different tiers of people and who you want to be around, how you see yourself. It's just a whole hierarchy, quote unquote. And I totally feel you, because I much rather be hanging out with more of a production people, whereas a lot of people are trying to inch their way to the main stars and talk to them. And the main stars, a lot of the times, they're just talking to each other.
Right.
And they don't even acknowledge you. So it's really interesting when you're on set and seeing the dynamics.
Well, yeah. And then like when I was like young, hot Shelly Martinez, 18, 19 years old, over there schmoozing with these camera people. And like I said, it was because, as you know, like my friends that were my homies, they were going to film school and stuff. And so I was just so intrigued by the whole thing. So when I was nervous on sets, naturally I would just go to these people because at least I can ask them questions and like learn something. So it kind of distracted me from being nervous and having anxiety. Mm-hmm. So I can only imagine what people used to think back in the day when I'm like always being booked for like the big boob girl or whatever. And I'm over there just like talking to the camera people and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. It's just, I never thought of it like that before. And it's probably why when I've been on sets, other talent has been really weird to me, because they probably are like, why is she over there like with the like crew people?
Well, spilling the tea very briefly, because we have a lot to go into today. I used to do audience work at this studio. And it's a huge studio in Hollywood. And there was this stage manager, director guy, and I was crushing on him hard for months. Like, I thought he was handsome, in charge, older man. I was probably in my late 20s. He was in his early 40s, and I was just swooning over him. And he also worked on another show where this young actor become head of the show was the main deal, but he also oversaw that show. And a lot of the girls in the audience were all about this actor, the lead guy of this show. And me, I was all about the guy behind the scenes. And one time that lead guy went around and shook everyone's hand, and the weirdest thing happened.
That's right.
It was the most bizarre thing. I'm not exaggerating. But when he came to shake my hand, he almost was in a trance and looking straight at me, and he wouldn't let go. And that director guy that I was crushing over had to come and grab him and pull him away. And I always thought that was a very odd moment. But going back to being attracted to what people think, and I ended up dating this guy, and it was a whole mess.
It was
like 4 or 5 years on and off mess. We made it happen. But again, who you are attracted to on set. And it's usually, for me, not the main actor. It's usually somebody who's behind the scenes or whatever. So that was an instance, to say the least.
Well, my whole point is with this is whatever our reason is to feel more comfortable with those types of people. That's why I've learned along the way different things. You know what I'm saying? Like, even to where, like, editing videos, I've been editing videos now since, gosh, 2011. So
I feel like earlier than that.
No, I mean, like, really edit. Like, not just cutting and pasting.
Like slideshow?
Like, yeah, it's not just like trimming and stuff, like, but learning how to really edit, like use Adobe Premiere. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not just something that came with the computer or whatever, like using Adobe Premiere. That was a big deal. And it just goes to show you, like, what the attraction, like, as far as like when you, because the whole thing is what sparked me to even bring it up is you were saying how long we've been podcasting. And sometimes people will like tune into my stuff and they'll be like, wow, like, you're really great and blah, blah, blah. I want to do that. And I'm thinking, the reason why I'm able to keep the conversation going, the reason why I'm able to talk in such a way is because I've been doing this for a really long time. It's not because all of a sudden I just picked up the microphone and was like, hey, hi there, ho there, how's everyone doing tonight? Like, it took a long time. Took a lot, and then me feeling comfortable to where, yeah, stick a microphone in front of me, it's not a big deal at all. Because even if I got tripped up or nervous, I know how to even cover that. Like,
or in your bad mood.
Exactly. And so the thing is, it's not because I'm like this special person or that anyone could do it. It's that I've been doing it for such a long time. I haven't just been doing sexy content. I haven't been just doing YouTube and live streams. Like, podcasting is deep, man, in the Martinez Girlz household. It's really deep. And that's what's up. That's why I take it so to heart. And that's why I decided it was finally time to get more serious about getting organized with all of this. Because now that I'm thinking, like, having this issue with the Martinez Girlz Radio and the Fun Time Radio, I'm wondering if Martinez Girlz Radio should just review those things, if that makes sense. Like, the episodes I can get, if that makes any sense, versus just putting them all out there on a separate day.
I'm down. Like I said, I am very intrigued and interested to revisit a lot of these episodes, because we, even in our learning experience, I think we had some pretty freaking awesome shows and amazing interviews and real moments. I meowed.
I think that was on Wake and Bake. I hope
you caught that. I accidentally meowed. I don't know what happened. I was holding my breath. I was going, like, you know,
no, but it came from like your chest. It was the weirdest thing. It was the weirdest thing. It had nothing to do with what came out of your mouth. It came out of your chest, like right here. It was the weirdest thing.
And we've had some guests on here that have been amazing. And I'm really excited not only to revisit, but to reignite that flame within myself. I know you've been doing a lot of podcasting. And for me, again, something I find is having a hard time balancing my creative flight versus, you know, my work stuff. But things have been kind of revealing themselves, and I'm starting to re-examine my priorities. So in saying that, I got a high off of researching my Cafe Danielle that we'll be talking about, because it's a hot topic. And I actually follow different YouTubers, and I love my expose YouTubers, the ones that do deep dives, and they go there, they do their research. And I appreciate it, because that's kind of what we do. Like, we'll do our research. It's like a whole thing, and they have to get images, and that's what we do for their music. Like, you get the music that I feel great.
I feel great.
Like,
I hope I don't get busted for that. Here's the thing. I feel great. Here's a little, okay, this is going to be the telltale if you are a loyal listener over here at Vampire Radio. So at the very end of the episodes, you hear You look a little bit nervous today. I feel great. How are you feeling? I feel great. So that is Kato Kaelin from the O.J. Simpson trial. So when we were doing, I believe it was either Wake and Bake or Martinez Girlz Radio, I had talked about this time where I worked with Kato Kaelin on some show of his. I was on there, and I just wasn't having Kato. He was a douchebag. God bless. He was very nice. He was very nice. But there was just something about him. I just didn't like it. He rubbed me wrong. And he tried to do like what people, especially at that time, I was in really good shape. And like, I know how dudes like him in this town kind of look at me, and I wasn't having it. And so I was just like, no. And I was there to promote a wrestling show I was on. So I was a heel, AKA bad guy. So I thought I'm just going to roll with that. And I was not acting, and I went into this whole thing. So as a soundbite, I wanted to find something for Kato Kaelin on the thing. And then when I found that it was originally him, they go, could you spell your name? And he's like, Kato, like it's this whole thing. But at the end, the I feel great, it just really resonated with me. So the rest of our podcasts, at the end, I'd always have, you feeling a little bit nervous today? How do you feel? I feel great.
Well, because he was so shaky and not feeling great. And I knew when Shelly was editing our episodes, like she puts her little jokes in, the little sound bites, all the things. But when you're doing it for hours, you're getting all these technical difficulties, the humor is lost, and you just want it to be done. You want it to be over. You want to just be completed with the task. So once you say, I feel great,
it's over.
It was
I feel
release.
great. I feel great. I feel great. And then here's the thing. You know what? Shout out to Kato Kaelin. On that vibe, before we get into Cafe Danielle, it's funny because it resonated with me so much that to this day, because Metal Jesus came into my life when we were podcasting. So he became familiar with the meaning of I feel great. I mean, Shelly's done. Good. Thank God. So there's times we're out and about, and he'll be like, how do you feel? And if I'm feeling good, I look at him, I feel great. Like it's a thing. And you and I do it. It's so long live. I feel great.
Long live, man.
I just hope I don't get busted.
Welcome to
Ignore it.
Ignore it.
Well,
I just hope I don't get busted for it, because I kept trying to look to see if like it's a copyright thing. And I feel because it's like when I was looking into it, because it was a public hearing thing, it's okay. I don't know. I hope everything's okay. If they need me to take it out, I will. It's easy. Just trim it off the end. That's what she said. So there you have it.
Well, when I last went live with you, like a Twitch kind of vibe, I don't think it was Twitch, but it was a podcasty thing. You were able to play songs. You had a playlist.
Yeah, that's no more.
That's no more. And it's so sad, because for my next Cafe Danielle, in a perfect world, I would be like, okay, so hang tight as we get Cafe Danielle open for business, and I'd play a song and it would get you in the vibe. Unfortunately, we cannot do that, but at least I can get Shelly in the vibe, and we can transition and go into Cafe Danielle. Welcome to another edition of Cafe Danielle, stimulating your mind, body, and rock and roll. And today we open Cafe Danielle, and the theme of today is Spice Up Your Life. In accordance to that theme, we do offer 2 specialty drinks today. We have a non-alcoholic version and an alcohol version. For the non-alcoholic version, for Spice Up Your Life, classically for the fall season, we have pumpkin spice latte. Non-fat, all fat, get your pumpkin spice latte any way you want. And then the alcoholic version that we have today is going to be a mulled wine. What is mulled wine? It is delicious. It is warm wine with cinnamon and different spices. And if you didn't think you could actually have warm wine, you thought the only kind of warm alcohol you could have is a hot toddy, let me tell you folks, you can have mulled wine. So those are the options today, and let's get into spicing up your life. So before we spice up our life, there's I don't know if you people are familiar with In-N-Out. Here in California, there is In-N-Out. Fantastic burgers. And for somebody like Shelly and I, who we do not eat meat, we are pescatarians, we only eat fish, but we do eat dairy, they have a secret menu. And the secret menu, we usually get a grilled cheese, which is basically the classic In-N-Out burger with no patty. Today's secret menu has vodka. And so Shelly and I are going to partake in this said secret list. Shelly, will you join me?
Oh, yeah, because, I got to skinny bitch it up over here. That mulled wine, it's good, tempting, but it's a little too heavy.
I completely understand. So we got our Amsterdam vodka. No, Amsterdam's good. It's not the Taka. I get the Taka, and Shelly hates it. It's the cheapiest of the cheapies. So hold on. That's me trying to blow in the bottle.
Yeah, you can't. It's too full. And here's the other funny thing, you guys. I hope the audio sounds better now. The microphone wasn't turned on.
I had a feeling. I was like, what if we weren't really recording? Because that's happened in podcasts before.
Well, because I could see when we talk, it pulsates over here. So I could see it, and I was watching it and to make sure it was connected still. So the default mic, and it's kind of a crappy one. So
yay, Martinez Girlz fashion. Let's do this party.
Here's the big comeback episode. I'm all, I've been podcasting for so long. I don't miss a beat. And then I don't turn the microphone on. You know what? I deserve that.
It's okay. So cheers. Shelly and I are going to take a shot of this Amsterdam vodka. Let's do this party.
Let's do this party.
Ooh, makes you kind of want to vomit.
Oh, that's more than a shot, isn't it?
I don't know. It's when you guys go to the liquor store and you can buy the shots. How many mLs is this? It's I don't know, man.
I'm just put the residuals in my Coke.
Oh, the residuals. Okay. Well, Shelly, you enjoy the residuals in your Coke while I spice
Zero.
In your zero Coke while we talk about spicing up your life. So if you have not already noticed, today is all about the Spice Girls. Yes. I took Shelly by storm. So there has been some talk about the Spice Girls lately. And I was talking about a deep dive that I watched. I didn't go into really detail, but that's what kind of inspired me for this. And when I was watching the deep dive, and it was just not a total expose, but just a recounting of the Spice Girls legacy, I almost started crying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love the Spice Girls. And why do I love them so much? And they are beloved by a lot of people. And I feel like they're underrated, even though they're incredible and legendary. And they only made 3 albums in 5 years. But in those only 3 albums, there was Spice Mania. They went to a certain level. They were young girls. They did it. The way they held the whole casting was incredible. And I remember when I was in elementary school, when Spice Girls came out, all the little girls would say, I'm that Spice Girl. I'm that Spice Girl. And we put on a little play at our school, and we're all different Spice Girls. And I was Posh Spice. I identified with Posh Spice. At that time, I had my hair short. I cut my hair short. And I was always a long-haired girl, but I cut my hair short. And I had a teacher, Miss Veronica, and she had short hair. And we took a picture together.
She kind of looked Victoria Beckham-esque.
She did. She totally did.
Victoria Spice, excuse me.
Yes. Vicky Spice.
Vicky Spice.
And so all these little girls running around, loving the Spice Girls. We have our friend Brian. Shout out Zombie Martinez. You don't have to be a girl to love the Spice Girls and to have a favorite Spice Girl and one that you really resonate with. And I was thinking, gosh, what did these girls do to us? They were something different. And even the ice cream man, he would sell these lollipops. And when you get to the center of the lollipop, you could open it up and there was a sticker, and it was a Spice Girl sticker. And I had a dresser that was filled with Spice Girl stickers, even if it was a repeat. I don't care. I had. Do you remember?
I totally forgot about it until right now, and I could see it right now.
So I thought I grew out of the Spice Girls. This girl is never growing out of the Spice Girls. So let's get into it. Let's spice up your life and get into this Cafe Danielle. Talk about how freaking awesome the Spice Girls are.
So intense.
Yeah. So basically, they are, of course, an English-based band that I actually watched a few documentaries. I watched a few interviews prior to this. And there was actually a different Spice Girl who was involved in the group who ended up leaving the group. She left it because she was going through some personal stuff. And it was really interesting because she could have been a Spice Girl, and they asked her about it. She's like, well, I was going through personal things, and I consider myself more of a theatrical actress and not a pop star, blah, blah, blah. So I thought it was interesting. And they purposely were holding these auditions because there was a British boy pop band going on, and they thought, why don't we do the girl version of it? They was like, this is amazing. Why don't we do that? And the Spice Girls, because I can go down a rabbit hole and I don't want to give all the details. Everybody can look this up themselves. But they just rose to fame. And if you think about it, in America, we've had NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, freaking back in the 80s, Shelly, your homies.
New Kids on the Block?
Yep, New Kids on the Block. You had,
Shout out to New Kids on the Block. Danny follows me.
So we're starting to see these girl groups. Who have you seen that? You've seen Destiny's Child. Okay. But it wasn't the same kind of thing that you saw with the Spice Girls because they were all different types of women and they embody different things. So something really cool about them is, without getting into too much detail, it was a father and son who founded this group, and they were the ones behind it. They're pretty much dangling a contract in front of the Spice Girls and making them work so hard. They moved into a house. All the girls lived together, and they worked non-stop with little pay and no contract.
But that's showbiz, baby. That's just how
it is. So they were getting frustrated that he was not signing them to a contract. And so they were able to perform in front of a bunch of writers and industry people. And supposedly, after that, everyone was so wowed by them that Jerry Halliwell, aka Ginger Spice, approached one of these said industry people, and they offered a contract. And so instead of renewing with the original persons that discovered them, they ended up just going with another company, I believe is Virgin Records, and they actually were able to have artistic control of the lyrics and the wardrobe and everything, and they all had a say in it. So it wasn't just one person. So that's something that really stands out in their story, allegedly, because you don't know contracts entirely.
That's just what they say.
Yeah, but they mark that as something in all the documentaries, Wikipedia and everything. That's something that they keep making note of, how they kind of took control of their music as a team. And so this brings me to my next topic, Ginger and Scary. So Ginger Spice, Jerry Halliwell, and Mel. There's Mel B, Mel C. Mel B and Mel C.
Yeah.
But it seems like, we'll just go by their Spice names. Ginger and Scary seem to be kind of leaders and in control, along with the other Mel, Sporty Spice. I feel like whenever you hear songs, those three are usually the lead vocals. You get a little bit of Baby, not much of Posh, and we'll go into that more later. But it seemed like there was a power struggle, and in these behind the scenes stuff I was watching, Ginger and Scary would kind of get into it a lot. And then there was rumors that they were romantically involved. And there's a lot of evidence of that. And recently, within the last couple of years, Scary did have an interview and she was asked about this. And she first laughed when they asked her. He's like, well, she has good boobs.
Okay.
And then he's like, okay, well, were you guys involved sexually? And she said yes. And apparently that pissed off Ginger, who is now married with kids and all that stuff. So basically what was hypothesized, what happened is they had this romantic relationship. It fell apart. They already have this control struggle, perhaps. And Scary Spice goes and she gets married to a man. And when they were about to get married, I forget exactly my journalism, I should have it in front of me, but surrounding the marriage, that's when Ginger left the whole group, and she had already told them that after the end of that tour, she was going to quit the band. But upon Scary's things with her new husband that she was planning things on, she split. So a lot of people think that she was really hurt by that, and that was the cause of the Spice Girls to break up. She got upset, and it was too much for her. And she says, Ginger, that she doesn't like confrontation. She was still in her mid-20s, by the way.
Right.
And it just was very complicated. What do you think?
First of all, it's a freaking war zone going on out there. I don't know what the hell's going on outside. Did you hear all that racket?
Yeah.
I had to lock the door just in case. I think it's really interesting. I definitely have my opinions of certain things I'll keep to myself. But as far as this relationship between them, I could totally see that. And I mean, hello, you said Scary admitted it. I could also see how Ginger Spice would be upset about it, but like, I can relate to that because there's stuff about me that's out there that I wish wasn't. And so when it gets brought to light, it sucks. But it is what it is. It happened. It's over. It's the past. Don't dwell on it. So hopefully she's not dwelling on it. That's my final thought.
I like that. Very Jerry Springer of you.
All right.
Rest in peace. Yeah, Jerry. That's for you, Jerry. Jerry. So this brings me to my next point. Barbies. Shelly and I have been Barbie girls living in a Barbie world before it was popular, okay?
Got made fun of for it.
Yeah. And different types of Barbies. So something that I was thinking of when I was revisiting the Spice Girls is they are Barbies.
Totally.
What's the difference between Barbie and them? What does Barbie embody? Beauty and female empowerment. There's Dr. Barbie. There's ice skating Barbie. There are these different character kind of women that are role models. And that's what the Spice Girls were. Listen to a lot of their lyrics. They are talking about positivity, friendship, sisterhood, and unity. And that's exactly what Barbie does. And Barbie actually, in the 80s, came up with Barbie and the Rockers. And she had her little group of friends, and it was based in the same things. And so a lot of people that are Barbie lovers like I am, we gravitated towards that. And I think that's something that adds to the charm of the Spice Girls, because maybe you're more of a sporty Spice. Maybe you're a baby Spice. Maybe you're but you find it and you love it. And you think about friendship and you think that's how life's going to be. And it's not. And I know I've been.
And then you have a sexual relationship with the one, and then you have to leave.
Aww. Womp, womp, womp. And you know, it's interesting because like they're so, don't you think they're like Barbies, like different individual Barbies?
Well, now that you bring it up like that, I could see that. And for me, my favorite was Ginger. I loved her. I was older than you, so they affected me differently. But I love that we've always shared the Spice Girls. So much so to where on my podcast I have with Stoner Jesus, the Shelly and Stoner Jesus Smoke Out. Just go to ShellySJSmokeout.com and get all the info there. So something that I've talked about on there time and time again is when I've done spice, which was the alternative to cannabis back in like
Oh, jeez.
the early 2000s, really. I mean, like
No, I think it's like mid
2000s. So the mid 2000s, when spice became a thing, Danielle and I partook in it. Mostly me. I got addicted to it. And one of the things that we would say is when you're a spice girl, like you've had a little too much and it feels like you're really on drugs, that's when Danielle would say that she was posh spicing out, and I would say I'm ginger spice. So on the smoke out, what I've talked about is there's times in life where I feel, without, I haven't done spice in many, many years, like a spice girl. So here's another little Easter egg for you guys. Whenever I tweet out and I tag the Smokeouts Twitter, and there's a GIF or a picture of Ginger Spice, it's because I feel like a spice girl, meaning I'm freaking the F out. Because if you've ever smoked spice back in the day, if you do now, please stop. So like, it just takes you to another level, man. And sometimes you just ain't right after.
Well, I've been a Spice Girl and I don't want to be a Spice Girl again. And maybe that's what I have in common with Posh, because she feels the same way. But when I would smoke spice, because we were so broke as F.
Yeah, that's why.
And we couldn't afford cannabis.
Because at that time, that's when it wasn't recreational. You had to be going to the dispensary, so they would mark it up.
Yeah. And so I would be in our teeny tiny apartment that was a studio that was, you walk in, it's a bedroom, kitchen,
Living room,
bathroom, closet, and then there's cockroaches. So you had to keep the lights on or else they crawl on you. But, you know, that's where we're living in, okay, in Hollywood. And when I would smoke spice and I get too spice girled up, I would say, okay, I'm going to take control. And I play Wii with my left hand because I'm right-handed.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I had a character that was Posh. And that was my way of like, okay, I'm not freaking out. I'm just going to play left-handed Wii as Posh Spice.
I completely forgot about that. It sucks that the Wii finally took a dump. R.I.P. to the Wii. But yeah, dude, have you guys ever smoked spice? Here's the thing. Side note. We'll get back to the Spice
It's okay,
Girls.
spicing up your life. That's the whole theme of Cafe Danielle.
So here's what happened, okay? So here I am in good old Mexico. I'm doing a tour there, and it's all ex-WWE people, hence that's why I was there. And one of the people that I was with, because we couldn't take cannabis with us over the border, you know, so he had spice. And so one of the things he said was, we had a mutual friend, me and this person, and that mutual friend was a big time pothead. So like the three of us were like the big time potheads. And he knew that I really respected that third party because they taught me a lot about cannabis. So like they knew their SH. And so he was like, well, so-and-so did it. And so solely because he said that my, at that time, sensei of cannabis,
Peer pressure.
At that time, my sensei of cannabis, he was like, well, he did it. So I was like, oh, well, if he did it, it's safe. And so I did it. And I was like, whoa. I was hooked. And then at the time, there was even liquor stores, gas stations. They had spice. I like that Black Mamba, Mr. Happy. And Danielle, I brought it into the house. And because, like she said, we were so broke, it's like we could spend $15 and have a big old jar versus you can't get nothing good at the dispensary for that. And so, and then I would travel. Oh God, I would travel with wrestling and I would have spice it up. And I didn't realize I was addicted. I got addicted to it. And so when I realized I was addicted to it, that's when I quit cold turkey. But sometimes I crave it still. And I'm like, God, I wish I had some spice right now.
Well, before we go on to my next point, because it's spice up your life, so we're going to embrace all these conversations and these tangents. I feel that spice changed me, and it's a chemical high. And when I did acid twice in my life. I felt that it changed me immediately. Something in me, in my brain changed. And I've suffered with some of the hugest anxiety. Granted, I'm a little older now and I've had a lot of experience, and maybe those things that I brush off now, it brings me a lot of anxiety, but spice shifted me. And I feel like it chemically changed me. So I am not about it. And I felt I almost died once or twice because you can't smoke it like a bowl of cannabis. You only can take a tiny, tiny bit.
Oh God, I could taste it right now. That gross, disgusting taste.
No, and I was stupid enough to smoke it and go on the treadmill. And I remember that time everything started like blacking out for me. Like I started blacking out. It was scary. Shelly had to take me outside. I thought I'm dying. I'm dying. Like this is happening. I'm dying.
Well, what made me quit, okay, so, and then we'll get back to Spice Girls, because this is important to share with people. So, I was doing shows over in like kind of like the Northeast area, and I was doing some shows over there. And so I was getting to know different people and connecting with different people I've never shared a locker room with before. And I remember there was this couple. I think the guy was the wrestler, but the girl wasn't. But she were like a serious, they live in couple together. And so every time I'd see them outside the building, they would like smoke me out. And I was really grateful because at that time I didn't have anything on me except spice. So during the show, like I went and I wrestled, did my part, whatever. And then when I came to do my smoke break, I just was like, okay, I have my spice. I'll just smoke it real quick. So I started smoking that spice. And then that's when that couple came out because he must have finished wrestling. And he was like, what are you smoking? And I was like, oh, spice. He was like, oh. And then he ended up telling me that their roommate was somebody who worked at like one of those like a bong shop or whatever, a head shop. And so they sold it, of course, at that time, just like the gas stations were and, liquor stores. And he said that because his roommate worked there and he can get a discount, he was getting a lot of spice, And then he came home one day with this girl and the guy was having a seizure, and it all came down to the spice. So that freaked me out. And so he said, look, and he gave me a couple nugs. He goes, this isn't much, but get this through the rest of your like trip out here, like, because don't smoke that. And I was like, dang. And so I had a whole bunch of spice at that time. I had a hookup. I got a guy. I had a guy, you guys. That's how deep in I got. And I remember thinking, okay, I'll give it back to the guy, like, so it doesn't go to waste. And I was like, go to waste. And so I ended up just throwing it away. And when I realized I was really addicted to it was in the car. I was talking about the situation that had happened with the people I was in the car with. And I was like, I can't remember exactly what I said, but the way I was describing spice to me, and kind of like the old I can quit whenever I want kind of vibes. I remember the driver was like, "It sounds like you're addicted." And I was so grateful for that honest thing, to say, because they were indie people. And so for me, that had some TV time, it's like, you don't talk to vets that way kind of thing. So I'm really grateful that that person said that, because I was like, oh, and it clicked. I was like, oh my God, they're right. I do sound like I'm addicted over here. Ew. And then that's when I had the thought of, oh, I'll give it back to the guy. No, I'm just going to throw it away.
Oh, I know that bag.
It
I'm
was a
glad you
big bag.
Yeah, and because you don't need a lot. It's not like with cannabis, you roll a joint. Like if you were to smoke spice and you had a joint of it, oh my gosh, you can't smoke the whole one. You'll like die.
Oh, and going back to your point, I do feel like I'm forever been changed too after the spice. So it's crazy, but it is what it is. Moving forward, spicing up our life here with the Spice Girls and Cafe Danielle.
Well, on a more positive note about our Spice Girls, so going back to them being Barbies and the encouraging lyrics, I feel like they were put in a position to be these like things, these role models, these objects, but not in the same way that you see a lot of pop stars get put into. You see them get super sexualized, which I love being sexy, and I know you do too. Like, I don't find anything wrong with that. But the Spice Girls, they were sexy and cute, but different. Like a Barbie. That's the only way I can mention it, because Barbie is sexy, but she's put together and she's not raunchy. And when you listen to the Spice Girls lyrics, I made a big note about "To Become One." I don't know if you remember that song.
I was just singing it in my head right now.
Well, and something, I almost cried when I listened to this song for the first time in over how many years, because it sounds like a friend telling you what intimacy is supposed to be and how much you deserve things and how things should be. And you don't get people talking, like, our moms really don't talk to us that way. We don't, who really has that in their life to tell them that? Going back to the Barbie thing. And one of the verses is, set your spirit free. It's the only way to be. To approach sex like that is a very beautiful and honest and real intimate thing, and they're singing about that, whereas you're having other pop artists being very raunchy. And trust me, I like my trashy pop songs, like, no, nothing against that, but that's how they're singing about sex and their sexuality, and that says a lot. And that's what Barbie would do, darn it.
I love this connection with Barbie. I'm here for that. And we're sitting here in the Bat Cave. It's all cute in here. To become one. The Spice Girls. We took those shots. I've been hitting the bong. I feel like Ginger Spice right now. I'm having a Spice Girl moment, kind of freaking out.
Oh no, don't freak out.
No, in a good, I like it though. That's why I love that spice.
Yeah.
I love to freak out. When I used to go to the dispensary, I say, well, when people freak out and they don't like being that high, I like to be just above that level. And that's how I operate, unfortunately. That's why I got hooked on that spice, because it gave me that instantly. Like you're saying, you don't even have to smoke a whole bowl. Like, you're a fool if you do. And that's what I loved about it. It gave me the instant versus having to have a full session with just cannabis. But at least with just cannabis, it's just cannabis. There's nothing else to it.
Well, and why are you rushing things?
Because I want to feel better.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And going back to the Spice Girls and setting boundaries, a lot of their lyrics are reminding people to set boundaries. That song, Stop right now. Thank you very much. I need somebody with a human touch. Hey, you, always on the run. Like, they are putting people in their place and saying, look, I don't deserve to be treated that way, and you don't let anyone treat you that way. That's what they're telling their audience. And so I think that, again, is not only Barbie, but it is encouraging and positive. And not in a fake way, because they were embracing things and talking about things, but they were also saying, hey, girls and guys, don't let someone talk to you or treat you this way. You deserve this. And when you get it, it should be this way. That's what a friend should do. And the whole unity and girl power sucks in a sense, because I grew up and I am no stranger to being a girl group. And I usually am like the head of the girl group. I'm not a mean girl, but there's a time in my life where I was like the head girl and like all the other girls, and like I didn't see it like that time. But the only reason why I see it that way is because they all started feuding with each other. And then it didn't come down until me and the other girl to finally break apart, and the whole group crumbled. And to this day, I still have bad dreams of me and my high school friend. And we're supposed to be these girls, this unity, this friendship. And I thought, based off Spice Girls and Barbie and all this, that this is how sisterhood is and unity is with females. And when girls start backstabbing you and all this, it's really hurtful, because when someone's trying to be your friend, like even like guys, that's happened that I thought they were my friends too. So like taking gender out of it, just people that are just meant to be your friends and your group of friends, and they screw you over. It's so unexpected. Like at least with a boyfriend or a significant other or whatever, you kind of anticipate that to an extent. But when you're trying to be like a unit and seem like we're all cool, that's the most hurtful.
Well, here's the thing. Going back to you and that friend, you just described what happened to Mel B and Ginger Spice.
Damn!
They had a falling out, and that was the end of the Spice Girls.
Damn. Touche. So my next point is going to be Jerry Halliwell. And if you guys have seen the music video, Look at Me, that was her video after the Spice Girls departure. And if you haven't seen it, you should. It's all in black and white. She plays many different roles and characters, and she does a really good job. And you see Jerry not only showing her strong personality, but you see how her acting and performing abilities range, because she's this innocent bride. And she even said in the opening credits, she's like at a telephone booth and she has glasses on with a tight bun, and she says, "The bitch," you know? And then she's this like sexy girl walking down whatever. And it's just like, it shows all this. And then I never realized until recently, the funeral scene, I never got it. I didn't understand it. I thought it was kind of creepy and weird. But then I noticed that the flowers in the casket said Ginger. So that was her artistic way of saying Ginger is dead. And look at me. And I understood that. And I was like, wow. And she's so old Hollywood vibes. And I was telling Shelly, I'm surprised she's not the Justin Timberlake of the Spice Girls, because she was so multi-talented. And I just don't understand why she's not this pop star that I would expect. But maybe she didn't want to do the things, or I don't know. What do you think?
Well, that's the thing, because to be a breakout like Justin Timberlake, no offense to his talent, but there comes a lot with it. There's a price with it. And maybe somebody like Jerry Holloway, right? Halliwell, excuse me. Maybe because she had that Spice Girls fame, she's like, you know what, been there, done that, and it's not for me, maybe. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it didn't progress. Maybe. That's just my thought. You know what I mean? Because think about it, like the Spice Girls were huge, like you've mentioned, like if they were huge. So it's kind of like she was already like, that's already like, and I get what you're saying, like the Justin Timberlake breakaway, because like NSYNC was really huge as well. But like the Spice Girls, like she already had her, in my opinion, it's like it seems like maybe she already had her feel, because I've seen interviews that she's done since and blah blah blah. And the vibe I kind of get is kind of been there, done that. So now I just kind of want to like do other things.
Yeah. The red flag and dress. And she was talking about her fashion statements. And something that I totally forgot is she wore the same dress as J-Lo, the iconic green dress.
What?
Yeah. She didn't even plan it. So she went to an award show and she said that she saw this dress and this one model wore it. And Ginger is only like 5'2". And so that's why she is known to wear extremely high shoes. And she said even that dress that she wore, that the model, like, I don't think it's Naomi Campbell, but it's like one of these like iconic runway models fell on the runway wearing such high heels.
You know what's hilarious? When I was in WWE and I was Ariel, I got a pair of black and red platform boots that really I got off of Hollywood Boulevard at one of the stripper stores back in the day. And the reason why I wanted those was because it reminded me of Ginger Spice, and people in wrestling always thought they referred to them as my Kiss boots. Everyone thinks I wore them because of Kiss. No, I wore them because that's what freaking Ginger Spice was wearing with those red boots. And so I got them in black and in red, and that's why I wore them. But everyone always thought it was because of Kiss.
See? And that's why Vogue knows what's up, and they're these fashion icons. And so, yeah, so basically Ginger wore the J-Lo, the iconic
The green
dress. Yes. And she's like, I had to wear these high heels and blah, blah, blah. And I think the high heel story goes toward like another ball gown that she had, but just like going towards like she was known for wearing really, really high heels because she was short and she liked fashion. And so she's like, J-Lo wore it better. And then do you also know something about Ginger? She used to live with George Michael. They were buddies and they lived together. After her departure from the Spice Girls, she lived with him, and like, no, I don't know exactly the timeline, but it was definitely after the Spice Girls. And she said that he was such a good friend to her. He bought her this one dress in this Vogue interview, and she like showing like she wore this dress, and that they just had this like friendship, that he would be brutally honest about her music, which she would try to come out with solo albums. And she said she appreciated that. And when she said he was brutally honest, like I can tell, like he probably told her, hey, this sucks. This is great. This is eh.
I would have never guessed in a million years.
Yeah. And they had a deep friendship. And I don't know. It makes me like her more. I don't know why. It just does. And, you know, and also on top of it, she's into vintage cars. And what I was watching when it was like the Posh versus Ginger, and like how they have this like friendship and like they talk about each other, but they're different, but they're the same. That's the conversation. They're different, but the same. And Ginger said that she's the more racy version of Posh, but they're the same. And I could see that. And Ginger was saying that her dad would have all these old cars and stuff. She learned that. So when they became famous, Ginger bought this like 1969 car, and then Posh bought the most newest version. She's like, I buy vintage and thrift store when Posh buys the brand new thing, the hot and coming thing. But we both have this style, this artistic end of things. And so I thought that was really interesting. And when I was doing my research on Victoria Beckham, aka Posh, she said that she extended girl power by going to fashion because fashion empowers women. And she wants to make women feel good about themselves. And I thought that was really cool. And she said, and even her co-star said, that she wasn't very confident on stage and she was never given many solo lines. That was never something offered to her. And she felt like an outsider and she felt like it wasn't her passion, but fashion was. But her presence was still very strong and needed. And she was part of the group. And she said that one time, even for fashion, her and Scary Spice went on this British broadcast, and they were actually pregnant at the same time, and they were just like 2 weeks behind each other. And when asked, "Oh, do you guys plan your pregnancy?" Scary said, "Oh, well, our men did," you know. And so they were pregnant at the same time, and they had all these whatever. But Posh, or aka Victoria, went to some actually Kate Middleton's wedding, and she was wearing Spanx. And so when Posh went to the car in her Spanx, she said she started getting claustrophobic because she couldn't get the Spanx down. She's freaking the heck out. And, you know, I think now that I reevaluate what Spice Girl I am, I'm like, I'm not Posh. Maybe I'm more ginger because I am kind of wild and I have the red hair and stuff like that. But I think I'm still Posh.
No, girl, you're Posh.
I'm Posh. I like my pearls. I'm a little stuck up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a little pretentious.
A little, you think you know it all a little bit sometimes.
So I don't know, Shelly. I was going to ask you, but you answered my question. What Spice Girl do you think I am? I'm Posh.
Through and through, yes.
And I've always been Posh.
Oh, yeah. Since you were a kid. Like a little kid. I don't know why, but that's what was the deal.
Oh, I've been sophisticated.
I guess.
So anyways, do you have any final thoughts before I close out this Spice Up Your Life edition of Cafe Danielle?
Just shout out to freaking the Spice Girls. You know, what can I say?
Well, yeah. Well, something that I wanted to ask you is, we're all talking about girl power and group dynamics. Have you felt betrayed by women that you thought were in a group, you're supporting each other, and it just hurts a little bit differently than when you might expect it from somebody in a romantic situation or somebody who you don't feel like you're in a group with?
Well, it's just like I said earlier when you said the thing about your childhood friend. Look what ended up happening with the Spice Girls. So that's just life. But it's something that I struggle with. It's been a big struggle in my life. It's caused a lot of depression in my life because I watched too much TV and I bought into life is like Saved by the Bell, and life is like Friends, and life is like Three's Company, and Friends to the End, and all this. But at the same time, you have people like Peter Mon that throw out reminders in life that some people are there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, and not many people are there for a lifetime. And the people that I've been disappointed and hurt by, I totally see their purpose in my life now, but it took me many, many, many years to sort all that out. So it wasn't it's fine now, and I see what their purpose was, and it feels no, because it took not only many, 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 many years, but just because I had that realization doesn't mean I still don't get affected by ones that I was really disappointed with, to where we live in the day and age now where if you have a certain kind of like same peer group or work group or whatever, you're going to see people who maybe you've had falling outs with like on your feed on like Twitter, because people are going to retweet or interact or promote. In my case, I'm wrestling like a show and then they're on it. So yeah, I still get affected, but just like the Spice Girls, man, even they had the problems and broke up. So that's the thing. That's the at the time when I bought into all that, that hadn't happened yet, if that makes sense. So now it's like that happened. So it actually makes me feel better because see, even the Spice Girls couldn't keep it together.
Well, something, I don't know if you've experienced this, but when I was in college, I became a part of a girl like group. Not a group like, oh, we're performing and acting, like literally just like a bunch of chicks that hang out. And
Social group.
yeah, like a social group. And I would always hear about this girl. Oh, remember those days with this girl and that girl? Oh, she would do this, she would do that. And they'd always talk about this girl. I became that girl. I was recyclable. It was like they just cycled through. And if it wasn't me, it was going to be somebody else. And then they probably talk about me to this day. And it's crazy. It's just like, you're just a prop. You're this thing. And so that's also something which is odd, because I said I'm used to being like the head girl, but if you're having all this, I don't know, it's just weird. I don't know.
Well, for me, another confirmation that life just doesn't work out that way. And if people do have that, that's a blessing, you know? Like if you're still like BFF with someone you went to high school with or grew up with, that's a very rare thing. I'm realizing now. I used to think it was what was supposed to happen and the norm. And I hate to bring this up, but I know my audience, most of the people listening are wrestling fans, so they'll get this. I swear to God, after all the people who I got so disappointed with in my career with wrestling, something that I always said was, if CM Punk and Colt Cabana have a falling out, I don't believe in these friendships. Because, and I said that, and not challenging their friendship, but they gave me so much hope that like, no, it does exist. Look at Punk and Cabana. They're such good. They have each other's back. Like they will have each other's back when they're not around each other. Like if they're tight, like if that's how it's supposed to be. Like, yes. And that was the hope. And for years, and then to see like that, in my opinion, Punk is, when he was a guest on Cabana's podcast, that's really what made his podcast like put on the map back in the day. And so people just don't do that for each other. And when they did that, I was like, whoa, yes. I was so supportive. So when they had publicly a friend breakup, I let go of that little fantasy. But the positive of it is it helped me let go of some of the hurt and disappointment I had with friends that I made in wrestling, that it hurt because I felt like they betrayed me, like you said, or like it's just a nasty kind of like it shouldn't be this way kind of thing. When Punk and Cabana broke up as friends, that's when I thought it's okay, because not even Cabana and Punk made it through, and I thought they would. So that's just life. It's not always going to be. There's some people, they do have those people, and that's rare.
Well, maybe there are the boy Barbies. What is Barbie? Barbie is this idea of something ideal, an ideal relationship, an ideal look or profession or anything. So when something that is so picturesque and ideal is broken, it's hard, because it's so categorized.
Let me tell you something. I swear to God, their friend breakup affected me so huge. And it's not even my business. Like, who cares? I don't even talk to these dudes anymore. But yeah, they're like the male Barbies, because in that world, everyone knew they were BFF extraordinaire.
Yeah. Perfection.
Oh, man. It's deep.
Dude.
It's deep.
Barbie's deep.
Whoa.
So that's what Cafe Danielle does. So this has been another edition. Yep. Cafe Danielle doesn't mess around. So this has been another edition of Cafe Danielle, stimulating your mind, body, and rockin' freaking roll.
Well, that was Martinez Girlz Radio. We'll see what the heck will happen. If I can recover these episodes from my old hard drive, awesome. If not, I'll figure it out. We'll be here, Vampire Radio. Remember, you can listen to us free on most podcast networks. We're on the iTunes. We're on the Amazon Music. We're on the Bean Pod. We're on iHeartRadio, and a couple others, Player FM. So just go check it out. And also, we are on Patreon, Vampire Radio on Patreon. If you want to go over there, see what we got, you become a VIP on there. And I believe next week I'm going to be doing another happy hour live stream. So be on the lookout for that. And until next time, I am Shelly from Cali. She's Danny, California, and we'll be smelling you guys later.
And remember to bring your death certificates. Hurry back. Hurry back.
You a little bit nervous today?
Feel great.